damage, but I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that is a lot of damage, but
everyone, and welcome to another edition of Chud Watch. How's everyone doing? Hope you're having a good day so far. Oh, this is going to be a tough episode. How do we broach this topic in a way that is both honest to how we feel about it, but also in line with Twitch TOS, and also respectable in general? Because, you know, human dignity and all that. That's a tough question. I haven't quite found an answer to it yet. But let's hope we kind of pick it up as we go throughout the stream, shall we? So today, of course, we are talking about the surprise death of Charlie Kirk that occurred yesterday. He was shot in the neck at a speaking event at a college in Utah. Well, there's been a lot of media coverage about it, a lot of which I'm pretty angry at and confounded by, to be honest, but we'll talk about that. Let's see what's going on in chat, and then we'll get into it, shall we? Hello, everyone. How you doing? Nemesaur, Sweet Lily Love, Crazy Jersey Lady, Bittergrin, Mr. Blast, Phoenix Leftist. Everyone else, how do? Terradona with 45 months says, mind holding the kids' leashes again? Gotta pop out kid number 5, and if you gotta take them outside, keep them away from other folks since they're still in the brain slug throwing phase. Not because of the danger to others, but it'd be cruel to the slugs to not supply proper nutrition. Also, here's kid number 5. This sub-baby's name will be Slugsley. That makes sense. Fennikagami with 40 bits says, I posted how Charlie thought empathy was a sin and therefore I'll show him none like he wanted, and someone responded with the full quote and said you should quote him correctly, not just the part that suits your narrative. And I was like, how is that quote better? It's word salad. He says, empathy is bad, use the other word that allows more cruelty. Yes, he says something along the lines of, empathy is bad, it's a new age bullshit. I prefer the word sympathy. But the meaning is still, I don't like that people are trying to make me feel bad about all my hate towards people, so I prefer a word that allows me to distance myself from the victims of my vitriol. Anyway. Phoenix Leftist with 40 stream streaks says a new streak with awesome people. Be safe, everyone. Sweet Lily Love says the State Department is now threatening immigrants who mock Charlie Kirk. That's a good use of federal resources. Alden Undying says, we're going to do a retrospective of an influential person to the current political climate. True. Question for conservatives, was the good guy, where was the good guy with the gun? This is the thing. It always seems that right-wing people who have, like, a boner for guns, and I'm not even saying guns shouldn't be a thing. Like, my opinion on guns has shifted a lot over the last, like, 10 or 15 years. I'm not against people owning guns in general. I'm against the gun culture of the United States where, like, half the population has a delusional fantasy that they're gonna end up in a situation where they get to shoot someone in the face justifiably. And that shit's destructive and weird, and it's just a fetishization of guns. The gun culture is more of a fetishization in a way that really makes me uncomfortable and I think creates all sorts of problems. But, I always find it funny that their fantasy is always, there's always a chance to respond and stop the person, and it's like, the shooter in this case was like 150 yards away on a roof. Like, no one was gonna get to that guy, at least not reasonably. I believe they did find the rifle at this point. It was a bolt-action rifle, so, like, he got one shot. That was crazy. He either had some practice as, like, a hunter, or I don't know. It's crazy. It was one shot. Even Lee Harvey Oswald took like 3 shots. That shit's crazy. And he was like a trained military sniper. Anyway, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, some shit happened, and I have no idea what's going to happen as a result. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about who Charlie Kirk was. And the reason I want to do this is because I have seen so many mainstream corporate media sources bend over backwards, and Democratic politicians bend over backwards to equivocate and act like Charlie Kirk was just this neutral figure, or that he was just like a little controversial. I am not celebrating the death of this man, but what I am telling you is Charlie Kirk was a bad guy. As much as there is evil in this world, Charlie Kirk was it. You don't have to pretend he was a good guy or that he promoted actual, like, free speech debate. That's not what he was doing. That's not ever what he was doing. And if that's the narrative that you put forward in your reporting on this, you're disgusting. You're genuinely disgusting, and you shouldn't be in journalism. It's fucked up. Okay. Fenekagami says Charlie also basically had no security. There was no bag checks or metal detectors. I don't think it would have mattered. He was, like, out in the middle of nowhere on this college campus. Like, there were roofs all over. Yeah, I don't think there was really a reasonable way for him to avoid this other than not being the biggest cunt on the planet. You know? Which is my strategy. Try to not be the biggest cunt on the planet. Carpkosian says, in more positive news, I've started editing my book and commissioned someone to make a cover for it. Hope you're all doing well, Hannah in chat. Nice, Carpkosian. Hope that goes well. So... we just do this, I guess? We just watch clips of him and go, oh, that was a bad thing to say? I guess. Okay. If you have any clips of Charlie that you think are worth looking at, send them. YouTube links, please. And of course, nobody send the link of the actual thing happening. It's not pleasant. I would not recommend it. I've seen it. Not worth it. Not worth it. Anyway, so let's jump into it. Let's take a look at some of the shit Charlie Kirk said over his career. What are we gonna start with? Let's do... I think I have just a cringe compilation of, like, some really bad takes by him. Oh, no, let's do this! This one was relatively recent. This was 3 months ago. And this made the news. The DEI pilot comments, aka, when he sees a black person doing a job, his first instinct is to assume they're unqualified because he's racist. Was racist, sorry.
Silver is the new oil, and it says if you don't...
Oh, okay, he's also shilling to his audience, too. That's good. Well, at least he respected his audience enough to shill products to them. That's good.
own silver yet, you're already behind. Colin says that oil, and it says if you don't own silver yet...
This B-roll is how he pictures his audience, by the way. I don't know why his audience would have sympathy for him. He clearly had none for you. Look at how he views you. Anyway.
You're already behind. Colin says that as demand for technology, energy, and industry soars, silver's value is set to surge. The question is, are you ready to profit? This book reveals why silver is the most underrated asset today and how to invest before the world catches up. I've read Silver is the New Oil, and you should too. Get it now, available on Amazon.
Yeah, so last year you said something about DEI, unqualified black pilots.
Crazy Jersey Lady says, if there's anyone who killed Charlie, just don't be an ass to them. Yeah, sure. That's probably a good thing to do. I'd just ignore him.
You see a pilot, a black pilot. Don't you think it was an irresponsible statement suggesting that maybe these pilots aren't qualified or unqualified?
No. But I'll tell you exactly what I said and why I said it.
Okay, go ahead.
I said, the pretext, I went through a whole windup. I said United Airlines is saying that they want 40% of all their pilots to be people of color or women. We have learned that we have relaxed standards anytime that we try to reach racial quotas. Anytime we reach racial quotas, we relax the standards.
Do you have any data on that, Charlie? Sorry, I know he... Actually, it's more likely he can hear me now. If he was alive, he'd be busy, I don't know, shit-talking trans people or something. Maybe his ghost is being forced to listen to people like me talk about him. Like in camera. Jean-Paul Sartre.
Standards for air traffic control, professors, or college admissions.
Marcel Paul says, shilling gold, always a good sign, always a sign of integrity.
Therefore, when it comes to pilots or surgeons, if I see somebody who is black, as I said on the show, I'm going to hope that that person is qualified. That's what
Does he think that reversing it and saying, I'm not afraid they're unqualified because of their skin color, I just hope they are qualified? Do you really think that that rhetorical shift changes the core of the messages that you see non-white people and assume they're not qualified based on a claim that you haven't even demonstrated? Love him. What a wonderful, kind man he was. Did you see how many news organizations are just describing him as like, he headed a youth organization? Yeah. I could name some other people that headed a youth organization. I don't know if I'd describe them that way, though.
What I said, which of course is legitimate, because they're begging the question, we're not hiring based on merit anymore. We're hiring based on race.
Yeah,
Now-
I'm sure that's directly what they said. They said, yes, we hate qualifications. We want our planes to blow up. Just hit the ground constantly, because that's good PR. So totally, that's what they said, Charlie. Very good faith. Very good faith. By the way, I do want to point out, Charlie died doing what he loved, and it was being a cunt. He died right in the middle of a smug retort about gun violence. Someone said something along the lines of, like, do you know how many trans people have done mass shootings in the last 10 years? And he was like, too many. And they were like, 5. And they're like, do you know how many, like, mass shootings there have been? And Charlie went, including gang violence, with, like, the stupid smug bullshit on his fucking face. And then he got a retort for which he could never respond to. So, I don't know. Just saying. You know the phrase, is this where you want to be when Jesus comes back? Do you want to be, like, soy-facing? Do you want to be like, liberal? Excuse me, liberal. FBI crime statistics, liberal. Bumble Homestead, thanks for gifting a sub.
So when you see a black pilot, you wonder, boy, is that person...
No, people don't unless they're racist, Charlie. They don't do that unless they're racist, like you were. White nationalist shit. Overthought says, happy Femboy 9/11. Yay! Do we have to play Femboy 9/11? Probably. Hold on. Let me pull up Femboy 9/11. Is Femboy 9/11 not here? Where's Femboy? Oh my god, they didn't take it from me, did they? No! No! Did I have it under cringe? Where's Femboy 9/11? Chat. This is my personal 9/11. Did they get rid of Femboy 9/11? No! Where is Femboy 9/11? No! Someone posted it in YouTube recommendations. Awesome. I'll go get it in a sec. Lennon Cat says, we live in a world we create for ourselves. If you preach hate and violence, you live in a world of hate and violence. Agreed. Toriador says, 1350, nah, 3006. I don't get it. I don't understand that reference. Nemesaur, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs and kicking off a hype train. Let me grab Femboy 9/11. Because today's more of a casual stream anyway, you know? And if you haven't seen Femboy 9/11... There we go. Oh, it's called What If Astolfo Was the South Tower, that's why.
Huh? Why am I so
If you've not seen this, I'm not sorry.
big? In more... Huh? Why am I so big? In more ways than one. What's up with this? Why are so many men trying to enter me? They're going up my elevators and into my stairwells. I'm
Oh, I got a tip. Makonas271 with a $10 tip says reminding people who he was is the right reaction. Thank you.
so big that everyone can see up my skirt.
I wonder how the person who voiced this is doing today. I hope they're doing great. I hope they're thriving.
They're gonna see my boy parts. What? I'm not an office building. I'm just a normal boy. When my master finds out how many other guys have been inside me, he's not gonna want me anymore. What's that? I hear a sound approaching me from behind.
How old is this video? 4 years. I think this was posted on, like, the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I'm not joking.
What's even going on here? I see another tower next to me. Am I in New York? Huh? I see a plane approaching. He's going too fast. Oh no! It can't be. Someone used their noble...
This is just a reminder that every tragedy on a long enough time scale becomes hilarious. I just want to point that out there. It doesn't help that the worst atrocities caused by 9/11 were perpetuated by the US government after the fact, destroying our country and several others. But, you know, what are you gonna do?
Phantasm on the North Tower. Oh, I hope that everybody inside there is okay. I couldn't protect them at all. Wow, what's this? I hear another plane approaching, this time from my behind. But I'm a tower. I can't move out of the way. I can't see it, but I think that plane is going to crash into me just like it crashed into the North Tower. No, it can't be. American Airlines Flight 175. That's bigger than anyone I've ever taken before. I don't know if I can do it. It's going too deep inside me. All of the men that are inside of me are going to get crushed. Oh no, everyone that was in me is currently trying to get out at once. It feels too good. It's so good that I can feel steam coming out of my top. I can feel my body. It's getting hotter. It feels like there's nanothermite going off inside of me. Oh, if only George Bush could see me now. It feels so good that I think I'm gonna collapse.
If only George Bush could see me now. That line lives rent-free in my head in ways you can never imagine. Sorry, where were we? We were somewhere. There we are.
There because...
Oh, sorry, there's stuff I gotta read. Amber with 40 bits says, our take is that the impetus to carry out this kind of political violence doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from a fundamentally unstable and atomized society where people feel like they have no power over the supposedly legitimate institutions of the state, from a society drenched in hopelessness due to an utter refusal to deal with painful issues like climate change and economic inequality, from a society bubbling with caustic, divisive rhetoric. Kirk spent his career fostering such an atomized, toxic society, such that his death is the embodiment of the old adage that one should take care of what they wish for, because they just might end up getting it. This is not to say him being assassinated is good, it isn't. A society where our ability to have democratic discourse is dying can only end poorly. It does mean that we feel no sympathy for him. He was a bad person and we won't pretend otherwise in the name of decorum. Sorry for his kids. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at it. His professional life, he was a destructive influence. I feel bad for his personal family because that's always unfortunate when someone you care about dies, but yeah. I don't think he was a good person, and I think he was actively a destructive influence on American politics. Lennon Cat says, also, man who made career pissing people off as shocked people are pissed off. Me sowing, fuck yeah! Me reaping, surprised Pikachu face. Darmek and Jalad at Tanagra. Orion Cooper with a $5 super chat says, for the worst thing I have seen today. Oh wait, there's more Charlie now. True. Thanks for the hype train, everyone.
They earned it, or because they were placed there. That's what DEI does. It makes you ask questions you otherwise...
No it doesn't. I don't think these people understand what DEI does. Well, Charlie certainly doesn't now. But, you know, I don't think these people understand what it is. I work at a company that has DEI policies. It's literally just them being like, hey, we should be open to other, like, you know, perspectives and, like, not discriminate against people because they're not white or because they're gay or trans or whatever. That's it. But instead, Charlie has to be inflammatory and act as though these actions are evil or nefarious or an attempt to destroy the country, because ultimately I believe Charlie Kirk was a white supremacist. And I'm not the only one who thought so, by the way. You want to know who else saw Charlie Kirk as a white supremacist? There is it. I know I pulled it up somewhere. Where did it go? Man, that punchline would have worked better had I had it. There we go. You know who else thought that Charlie Kirk was a white nationalist, neo-Nazi and white nationalist Nick Fuentes.
Charlie Kirk, as we know, has become a white supremacist, and that's a huge victory.
So that's a sparkling, I'm tired, chat.
But he remains he remains.
He goes on to say anti-Semitic shit. Surprise, because it's Nick Fuentes. But even Nick Fuentes saw Charlie Kirk as an ally in terms of white supremacist rhetoric. So that's great. Freyline says, he spent his life creating the world that killed him, but we still have to live in the world he helped create. His death doesn't fix anything. I think it makes the situation worse. Probably.
Otherwise would not ask.
So the airline industry is going to take an unqualified person just based off diversity.
Underqualified, not
correction, yeah.
Underqualified.
Unqualified, underqualified, whatever, uncertified, and put them in a cockpit and risk people's lives?
Those are two different things. Under and un are two different things. Of course, United Airlines will not take someone off the side of the street and put them into a pilot. But in order to reach a 40% goal, they might cut corners. They might accelerate the process in order to reach a goal. We know this through all sorts of DEI.
So you're speculating, and I noticed that the speculation is still the implicit understanding within that statement is the belief that black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, anyone who's not white cannot meet the standards of white people. That is what he is saying. Charlie Kirk in this statement and in his philosophy was saying white people are better than everyone else. And they obviously can't meet our standards, so we'd have to lower them. That's why I'm against black people having jobs that should belong to white people.
DEI examinations and projects over the last 10 years. You have to choose in life. Either excellence or racial quotas will end up being the most important. And both cannot simultaneously exist. It's never happened before.
Okay, so when we talk about DEI, well, who benefits the most? Because black people really don't. It's only like maybe 3 to 4% of black people actually benefit from those programs. So
where's this guy getting that number?
who benefits the most?
I hate this entire discussion because it takes what is effectively an HR policy way more seriously than anyone at any of the companies that institutes it. Can I point that out too, as someone who works at a company like this? Oh my fucking god.
I'm not sure your question. I mean, theoretically, if 40% of all pilots end up being black people or people of color.
But that's not. I actually looked it up. It's only like maybe about 6% of pilots
their
are black.
goal is 40%, right? That's the point. It's like that's actually a great point. So they wanted to go from 6% to 40%. And so you have to wonder, boy, you go from 6% to 40%, there's going to be...
I feel like we're comparing number of black pilots to number of non-white pilots. The 40% number, I think, is for non-white pilots generally. 6% might be black pilots, but then you would also have to factor in Hispanic, Asian, stuff like that. I don't know if the number of the 40% is inclusive of, like, women pilots as well. Again, that would make the number less of an increase than he's implying here.
A relaxing of standards.
Okay, I guess the way let me see if I can rephrase it.
Oh my god, there's a Chud in chat! And their response, H-Bird says, racial quotas have been illegal since the 70s, and they said, then why do we see it in Disney? Fellas, is it okay to become a fascist because I don't want to see brown people in Disney movies? We did it! We caught one! Look, it's one of the people. Charlie Kirk was such a good influence on people like this. Look at how smart and empathetic he is. He clearly isn't brainwormed at all. I don't know, I saw brown people in a Disney movie, so I thought I'd vote to destroy America. Also, Aladdin rules, you bitch. I think Trump wants to bomb Agrabah. Screaming at the Radio says, yesterday I quit my job as a software dev at Microsoft and retired. Take the rest of my bits. Hell yeah, thank you. Gitara with 50 bits says, Charlie spent his career advocating for the oppression and deaths of marginalized groups of non-white people. He pushed great replacement theory and other racist rhetoric. He constantly couched his actual views in faux concern and dog whistles. I'd say that it's safe to say he was a white supremacist among other bigoted things. I think he was. It is my opinion that Charlie was a white supremacist. Undead283, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs. Much appreciated. It is September, by the way, so anyone gifting subs, they are discounted. Thank you very much.
So essentially, when you talk about DEI, affirmative action, or anything to that effect,
I'm against.
Fennikagami says, so that person just elaborated more on the quote and it doesn't get better. Charlie correcting identified what empathy is. These people are not understanding how he's saying that's bad while pretending understanding is also good. And Tellurian Katrin says, I was trying to explain to my Trumper relative that white women benefit the most from DEI and affirmative action stuff, and that therefore I could be considered a DEI hire. She said that can't be true because I'm qualified. My brain melted a little trying to talk to her. Yes, they've been propagandized too. You know how right-wing people are the kind of people who say the left all just are brainwashed and are NPCs? It's projection. They get talking points like every day from their little fucking news networks and Facebook, and they go about repeating the talking points because they can't think for themselves. It's insane.
All of it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and that would be fine. The thing is
Are we gonna lose Cartman now? Yeah, for those that don't know, I don't watch South Park. I haven't in like a decade, just because the sort of libertarian overtones lost me. But this season, Cartman did a thing where he was basically Charlie Kirk. Like 2 weeks ago, they did an episode where Cartman was basically Charlie Kirk. And I don't like Trey and Matt. I really don't. But they'll get a little bit of respect for me if they go there. If they go there, you know what? Points. I don't like them still, but if they go there in the next episode... Ooh. We'll see if they're allowed. We'll see if the network or the streaming service tells them no. But, like, this season has Satan, I've seen. Like, you know, Satan, if you've ever been a South Park fan, you know, back in the early 2000s, they did the storylines with, like, Satan and Saddam Hussein. They've kind of brought that back with Trump and Satan. So you could have a thing where Cartman gets shot, and then he ends up in hell and gets involved in the Satan-Trump thing. I don't know. Anyway.
is that now it's actually, referenced as a slur against, essentially, if you see a black person in a position or, minority or whatever, the assumption is that that person is not qualified when literally, and, you have to be qualified in order to even to get in that position.
Well, so let's take college admissions. So this is a great example. At Harvard, we learned because of new revealed documents that black students were having test scores that were 30 to 35% lower than their white counterparts.
Okay.
And so, therefore, if you saw a black kid at Harvard, it's a fact that they were not having the same test standards as their white counterparts.
Still doesn't matter.
Do you think that Harvard is a fair comparison for most colleges, or do you think that Harvard is basically a daycare for Nepo babies? Because my impression is that it's the latter for the most part. I also don't know if any of these numbers are true. I really don't. But I think looking at Harvard for anything in particular is always kind of a weird rhetorical sleight of hand, because Harvard is not a typical college. Any stats you would even pull from it, accurate or not, would not be necessarily reflective of, like, college as a whole. It's quite out of the norm in terms of colleges.
The kid has to get through, he's got to get through the classes, do the tests, do all the research.
Well, and they actually drop out at a greater rate, too. But the point being is, just the idea...
He's so happy to say shit like that. He's such a smug little shit. Was such a smug little shit. I keep doing that. I'm sorry. I need to respect his tenses.
That they were there, number one, took a spot from an otherwise qualified individual that might be white. And they were not there on the same merits. So what we want is the same rules for everybody.
You're making the assumption that they're not qualified in order to get in. In order to even get there,
it's not the assumption. It's the data. So, for example, it's literally at Harvard, you had kids with perfect SAT scores, perfect ACT scores that were white.
So that makes a degree from Harvard worthless then.
Well, you're exactly right. Yeah.
Toreador says Ben Shapiro cancels college stops on his book tour. Did he really? I'm trying to think if I could say I cannot.
Actually, Harvard's degree is becoming more worthless because it's more race-based than merit-based. You're exactly right.
Okay.
It's not, though, Charlie. It's not. I don't know if you know this, but when you go there, you gotta, take classes and tests and, do the work. And if you don't graduate, you don't graduate. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Altered Undying says, oh, I heard this being debunked. So from what I know from the podcast, If Books Could Kill, people of color who were admitted got the position instead of someone else who was white. Same scores and everything, but the average has a difference due to racial imbalance, poverty, etc. Ah, gotcha. Other factors, correlation, not causation. It's usually what it is.
Okay, now, we talked enough about that. So in the past, you made statements about black privilege. So can you explain that to me and what it is? And
Yeah, of
how
course.
black
I mean,
people
it's
are getting
easier for a black person to get into college than a white person. You get with lower test scores. It's called affirmative action.
Okay, so that's been so college admissions has been affirmative action for college admissions has been struck down.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
I'll give you another example. What percentage of TD commercials have black people versus white people?
I'm not sure about that, but white people are also gonna-
This is a primary concern. Imagine, oh my god. Imagine being a very serious political pundit that is being slobbered on by the media in your death. You've died, you've been killed, you've been assassinated, murdered! And they're treating you like you're a serious political activist, and something you used to have as a primary concern was, aren't there way too many black people in commercials? This is what he died for, by the way. Like, this is his life's work. Do you think he would think it was worth it posthumously if he could, like, as a ghost, be like, was it worth it? I was an agent provocateur because there were too many brown people in my Folgers ads.
commercials.
About
So
40. Oh, this is important. About 40 to 50% of all network TV commercials have a person of color right now. What percentage of America is a person of color?
Oh my god! Someone get my hair shirt! You think that was the last thing to go through his head? Was like, oh no, I'll never stop them from putting black people in commercials. Ah, that was his final, like, Shakespearean aside. Everything went dark. His, like, spirit self. Alas, forsooth I have failed. The advertisements, they are full of tawdy moors. Oh, happy dagger! Elminato says Folgers ads are only for romantic white siblings. True! Fenekagami says this affirmative action debate is ignoring that to qualify, people of color needed extracurriculars like clubs, volunteering, or sports. Amber says, wonder if Charlie ever complained about Harvard's value declining when we found out a bunch of rich and famous people were bribing college officials up to and including the Ivy League to ignore subpar applications and poor academic performance. Of course not. No, they were white. That's fine. Their parents had money, which obviously meant they were inherently superior.
Color.
At least for black people, I know we're about 13%.
Yeah, it's about 13% of the population, nearly half of all the TV commercials.
White people are still in the commercials.
Yes, but underrepresented as proportional, though. The point being...
Okay!
Can
I just tell you something? First of all, ads are disgusting. So if you're advocating to be represented in ads, you're a fucking idiot. I'm just gonna put this out there. If you're like, I want to be represented in the propaganda companies develop to try and get me to buy things, what's wrong with your brain? Genuinely, is it rotted? What's wrong with you to think, like, these things that are, they're spending money to manipulate me, and I wish they did it better by making them white. Like, what the fuck is is wrong with you? Are you deranged? Do you even know what an ad is? Like, you like them? You like ads? Are you a human being? What are you doing? Just bizarre.
I'll give you another example. Easier to get corporate jobs. There are entire departments that are
Famously, corporate America, full of black people, no white people allowed in corporate America. Should we look at the racial makeup of CEOs or board of directors in America and take a little, since he's so concerned about representative demographic, like statistically, is it proportional? Let's take a look. How many CEOs of companies are black or Hispanic versus how many of those people are represented in society as a whole? Is he very concerned about demographically being represented proportionally in those cases, or only when he perceives white people to be having less than he would prefer? That said, too, since we're talking about proportionality, why isn't, I don't know, the government half women? Why aren't CEOs half women? Board of directors, you know what I mean? He can't pretend like he gives a shit about this when he's only doing it to benefit white people or men. It's such a pathetic, bad faith argument. And luckily, I'll never have to hear it again. At least not out of a face that disproportionate to the parts on it. So that's good.
Are dedicated to just try and expand racial quotas.
You know what would really fix this from the beginning had you not had, all the. So why do we have DI in the first place? Because this is the problem that creates. So why was DI necessary in the first place? Or people, or at least the government thought it was necessary in the first place.
Why do I think that it was?
No, why would the government?
Do you want my well-intentioned?
DEI is not a government policy. Oh my god. People have no idea what anything is. Why do people go and talk to people and not know anything about the shit they're talking about?
Explanation or the...
Whatever you got.
I mean, DEI was obviously about trying to destroy the excellence of the country and elevate...
You know, for a second, I gave him too much credit. I really thought he was gonna be like, yeah, sure, it was meant to rectify, unfair... No, he didn't even try and pretend to give, like, a good faith interpretation of the intent. He immediately goes, seditious elements within the country wanted to kill it by putting black people in the commercials! Again, I want to point out mainstream news sources are taking this man seriously because he died. He's dead, so now they all have to slobber all over his cold balls and be like, oh, he was a leader of a youth organization. Oh, what an outstanding journalist and proponent of free speech. Fucking hate this country so much.
Elevate racial tribal politics.
Okay, so if you don't have the racism, right, and then you'll need that program. So you eradicate the racism, and that eliminates the need for any kind of program.
No, but if you have excellence, you're going to find the best.
That tries to take people and put them in place because they're minorities.
You want the best in everything. So let me just ask.
Goth Geek Gaming says, not trying to be a downer here, but I was a victim of a hate crime when I was 17 in 2000 for being a gay male at the time and trans now. Different hate. I didn't feel I should feel bad for him passing given this, but people make it seem like I should. You don't have to feel bad. You do not have to feel bad about this. Twitch TOS dictates you can't celebrate it, but you don't have to feel bad, and anyone who tries to make you feel bad about this can go fuck themselves. I'm not telling people who feel bad to go fuck themselves. That's your business. I disagree with you, but that's your business, and I'll leave you to grieve for whatever fucking reason you want. But anyone who tries to pressure you into feeling bad for this fucking guy when every day of his professional career, he looked at people like you and me and said, you're not a person and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure your life is miserable. The government doesn't acknowledge you. We're going to take away your rights. We're going to make you go back in the closet. We're going to make sure that you aren't taken seriously and your entire existence is a joke. If you try to get me to feel bad for that person, kindly go fuck yourself. Unironically, go away. Go cry about this motherfucker on your own time. I do not have time for it. I don't have energy for it. I do not care.
Ask a final question, okay? If you were about to board a United Airlines flight from Tallahassee to Atlanta, and you find out the airline pilot says, hey, everybody, I'm a pilot. I was hired because of diversity. Let's have a great flight. Would that make you feel good or not so good?
That's not anything that's happening. You're making up scenarios in your own head. You can't anymore, though, because they'd leak out.
Good.
No, but I know
Scratch that, reverse it, bad call.
he's still got to be qualified in order to fly that aircraft.
But he said I was hired because of diversity, and you're like...
You still got to meet the standards in order to get into the cockpit.
Well, again,
Yep.
we know because air traffic controllers and many others, they relax those standards. When you have a
Oh my god, a ton got fucking fired. What are you talking about? Tellurian Katrin says, hell yeah, Hannah, that perfectly reflects how I feel, and I wasn't able to put it into words. I do words, okay.
surgeon,
You're saying that, but look, you're not. It does not make sense. It's irresponsible not only to say that, but to actually put unqualified people in risk lives.
but we know that's actually happening every day, and that's why it doesn't make sense. But racial quotas end up mattering more than excellence. When I
Full of shit. Charlie's full of shit.
go in for
Thank you for 38 months of subscription.
surgery, I want my surgeon to be the best surgeon. And here's where we can
I would
agree.
agree with that,
We
yes.
want a merit-based society, not a race.
Correct. But there is racism, and in order to correct for that, you have policies that try and mitigate racism. That's it. That's all people are trying to do. No one wants unqualified people doing jobs. That's a complete fucking straw man, and it's full of shit.
Space society.
I say we should have started that way from the beginning, but at any rate, then the last thing, I don't want to argue, Mike, but I'll just say
That's
this
fine.
last thing. So you talked about, black fathers, absentee and all this other stuff and everything else. I actually agree. Okay, more fathers in the home and everything else. That's wonderful stuff. The thing is that you also said, and I'm looking at some.
All right, I'm gonna move on to something else because we're almost an hour in, and we've still been on the same video. I know it's been kind of leisurely the way we've been doing this, so. How about a cringe No, there is an article. I wanted to read the one where he talks about gun control. Where was that? Oh, here's one. Trump ally Charlie Kirk suggests children should watch public executions. I want to point out, I feel bad for his children, but they were there when the thing happened to him, so at least one of his political aspirations happened before he died. Chitara says, so you know how the right-wing commentator influencers immediately made calls for violence against leftists and liberals after Kirk died because they assumed the shooter must have been trans, non-white lefty? The primary suspect the FBI hasn't caught yet looks like a cis white guy who wouldn't have been out of place at a Trump rally. Once again, potentially it was one of their own guys, meaning right-wing white guy, perpetuating violence. We don't know yet. I've seen the picture. We should wait to talk about the person until we know more about the person. That is all I will say about it. Altered Undying says, there are problems with air traffic controllers because they tried to form a union and everyone was fired under Reagan, and they never hired enough people to fill the gaps, according to John Oliver, according to history. Anyway. So the article, Trump ally Charlie Kirk suggests children should watch public executions. Charlie Kirk, founder and president of the conservative organization Turning Point USA, suggested in a recent episode of The Charlie Kirk Show that children should watch public executions. Capital punishment, also known as the death... Why are articles like this? I know they gotta fill a word count, but really, here's the story. Then let's fill a couple paragraphs that I got from Wikipedia about a definition of a thing. Irrelevant to the story. Sorry. On his weekly panel discussion, Thought Crime. Of course it was called Thought Crime. Kirk was discussing death penalties of those convicted of crimes, adding that not only does he believe there should be public executions, but that children should watch them. Quote, Death penalty should be public, should be quick, it should be televised. I think at a certain age, it's an initiation. What age should you start seeing a public execution, Kirk said. Again, this is the guy that the media can't stop sucking his cold, dead dick. Charlie Kirk's so great. Charlie Kirk, oh, Charlie Kirk. He was a fucking psycho. Again, it's not good he was assassinated. It's not good someone killed him. You don't have to pretend he was anything other than a fucking monster. Ugh. Remind me not to mimic choking on dick on stream ever again. Anyway, Kirk, along with co-host Jack Brzobiak, Tyler Bauer, and Blake Neff, continue to discuss at what age should children watch the public executions, with one co-host pointing out as young as 12 years old. I think maybe 12. 6th grade or so, you're old enough, Neff said. Well, Bauer pointed out that it should be an age when someone can embrace the meaning of the execution. In response, Kirk said, I think it should be taken in a holy way, and I don't mean holy in a bad way. I mean that this is heavy. In addition, Kirk asked whether crime would go up or down if children were watching public executions. Here's a question for anyone that might not be persuaded. Would crime go up or down? Bauer said. It would go way down, with Kirk then asking, so why is this even a question? So there's that. Toreador says you can still request a captivating talk at your campus by Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh. Don't go to... no. Overthought says the New York Yankees had a moment of silence at their game last night. The Detroit Tigers proceeded to destroy them 11-1. Eat up, Tigers. It's the first time I've been proud of the Tigers in my entire life as a Michigander. Sorry, I have like phlegm from when I was sick. Where's the Chud troll? Which one?
And I think the American family is breaking because of it is this subsidized, prolonged adolescence of infant men of 26, 27-year-olds. I'm telling you, young men need to be treated a lot harsher than they are right now. And I know that sounds bad. They need to be challenged, put out into the wild, figure it out, you know, go reach deep down and understand if you have testosterone or not, and then build something of value. This idea of men perpetually kind of be putting...
Sorry, I muted myself.
...and their feelings and all this. It's nonsense. You know what it does? It creates the most suicidal generation of men in history, is what...
Yes, it's not that people have no prospects or future. It's not that the economy's shit and there's no hope of ever owning homes for the vast majority of young people. It's definitely that you don't throw them in the woods and treat them like shit. That'll fix them.
It does. We gotta challenge our men. We have to challenge them to be better than they are. Young men love a good challenge, a physical challenge, a career challenge. That's what they need to be called for. Called for more. Instead, the entire society right now...
How about we call them to be members of society along with everyone else, and they don't get to tell everyone what to do and be like weird chauvinists about it? Like, that's enough, right? Everyone else is fine, right? Am I crazy? Seems like most people, like, things are rough, but they're coping, except for white men who have all collectively freaked out and decided to take out their anxiety on everyone else. Guess what, motherfucker? We all have anxiety. We're all struggling. Why are you making yours everyone else's problem instead of working towards solutions? Sick, dumb assholes. I swear. Tellurian Katrin says he's so bizarrely smug and smiles when he says this shit. I feel like people are confusing that for being nice or good or tolerant, maybe. I think most people writing about him have just never heard him speak.
Is trying to say, well, there's toxic masculinity, and if you say the wrong thing to a woman, she might report you to a local authority, and it creates this society.
What imaginary world, what do you think you're going to say to someone that's going to make them report you to the police? Because I can't imagine someone saying anything to me that would make me report them to the police unless it was threatening or like psychotic and thought I was in danger. Like, normal people don't have this fucking problem. What are you talking about? Fenekagami says, I'd like to point out that I feel on the sickest part of this is Kirk's allies already were narrativizing, I would say, building a narrative before they knew he was dead. Every time all these people talk about him, they deperson him. He's a tool to all of his so-called friends and allies. Everyone on the left hates the man's guts, and yet we have more empathy for the man than his own allies. How sad a life to live. If you want your death to be mourned by not shitty people, you have to be a not shitty person. It's kind of why I assume very few people will mourn for me when I'm dead. You give what you get, man, or you get what you give.
You know, I'm not going to mess around with this. I'm just going to go play Xbox in my basement, right? So that's why at Turning Point USA, we now have a men's summit and our men's summit is very different than our women's summit, where our women's summit is really fun, and my wife speaks at the women's summit, and, you know, women come from across the country, and they're wearing dresses, lots of pink. Our men's summit is out in the woods. No phones, we deprive you of calories.
Women, you know, dresses and sparkles, and men, we're gonna get in the mud and fucking kick each other in the balls.
Sleep, we break you, and we teach you something, and then you learn how to become a man.
Men are not okay. Holy shit, guys. Why do you think you need other men to beat you up and treat you like shit to be a man? What is wrong with you? Ugh.
What was the first murder in the Bible? Socialism. The first murder in the Bible was socialism. How often?
He's saying because Cain and Abel, God wouldn't take the fruit, so Cain killed Abel for his yummy, yummy meats. And that's socialism or something.
How often do you have a pastor tell you that? 2 sacrifices, God likes one of them, doesn't love one of them, resentment, murder.
This is legitimately the most insane, like, analysis of the Cain and Abel story I've ever heard, and I've heard some fucking doozies.
All throughout the scriptures, you see envy. I want somebody else's stuff. I don't have it as good.
I am a jealous god, have no other god before me. God being envious? Fine. Toreador says, God is a bottom, he rejects the fruit for the meat. And a profane priestess says, why are right-wingers still so fixated on being pissy about people playing video games? They aren't just for sweaty neckbeards anymore. It's the most widespread hobby in the modern world. It's mainstream at this point. I saw RFK Jr., like, yesterday blaming mass shootings on video games. It's like they froze the man in 1995 and just woke him up. It's crazy. I legitimately had not heard the, like, trying to blame mass shootings on video games since, like, 2006. Who was that lawyer that got his license revoked for this shit? Jack Thompson? I think he was the last vestige of that. When Jack Thompson got his license pulled, that's pretty much when that rhetoric stopped.
Drive you to very evil and dark places. So if you think human beings are naturally great, then you think you can create heaven on earth, and that is the promise of socialism.
I don't think human beings are naturally great. I've seen Charlie Kirk and people like him. Human beings are disgusting, superstitious, paranoid, angry animals. Unless you teach them better. And unfortunately, Charlie Kirk wasn't taught better. Gothgeek Gaming says, my understanding in the Cain v. Abel story is that God liked the smell of burning flesh over the smell and the taste of vegetables. Yeah, that's basically in the story. God demands sacrifice of animals, not plants.
And so, yeah, I can go deeper in the trans thing if you want. God created male and female. The Democrat Party does not believe that.
The Democrat Party.
And if they get power, we will have a a never before seen crusade and jihad against our nation's children.
A trans jihad. We gotta throw in an Arabic word to scare grandma. The transes are gonna do a jihad on your grandkids. Everyone be afraid. Vote for the fascist who's gonna ruin the economy. Otherwise, the Democrats are gonna jihad your kids. This guy, I'd say he's a dipshit, was a dipshit, but he knew what he was doing. He was just evil. He was just an evil motherfucker who wanted to hurt people he didn't like and used any rhetoric to trick normie assholes into voting against their own best interests. Come on. Come on. How can anyone look at this guy and be like, he was just like a normal political figure. We have to treat this with decorum. Do we? I don't know. Toreador says, Atheist Jihad is my new gang name. Bittergrin says, God created male and female. He also created smallpox, so I guess vaccines are as dangerous as trans healthcare. He was a real Craig. I don't get that. I find that so funny that he's like, God created men and women. Look, I don't believe that there's a God, but if there is, guess what? God would have created trans people too, because we're here. We exist. This is not hypothetical. We are here. We are real in reality, not in some hypothetical. We exist. So if you believe in God, you have to believe that God created trans people, because we exist. He doesn't believe we exist? Well, joke's on him. Guess who doesn't exist now? Anyway.
And they're already talking about another stimulus. And look, here's the long and short of it, is that middle America, real small business relief, the best stimulus they could have, Michael, is the green light to go back to work. I mean, that's what they want. And so I understand it's not that...
Americans love to be exploited by their billionaire overlords. Let them return to wage slavery. I don't know why I turned it into Alex Jones.
Simple, and I understand there's, all sorts of competing data and all that sort of stuff. However, I am of the opinion, like, hey, posting a $4 trillion deficit, that should be something that should be deliberated so thoughtfully and critiqued. So
I wonder how he felt about the recent BBB bill that added more than that in terms of the deficit because Trump said so.
Carefully, not jammed through and passed in what I consider with some of the most egregious waste that I've seen in a bill in the history of the U.S. Congress.
And what's so scary here for conservatives is the precedent. Because listen, I'm fairly amenable to the bill. I can get behind a lot of aspects of it. But the sticking point for me...
You're more amenable than me, but finish...
I know, I'm probably more amenable to it than you are. But the sticking point for me is we are now setting the precedent of the government on a massive scale sending direct checks to people because of a time of crisis. Well, look...
That's not even the first time this has happened. Like, I understand that the whole stimulus thing has actual economic influence that's debatable because inevitably when you just put liquid cash in the hands of millions of people, it's going to cause inflation, period. It's gonna. Like, I understand that. I'm not arguing with that. What I am saying, it is a tool in a toolbox of economic policy that can be used in very specific circumstances. And, like, I don't know if people remember, there was a stimulus check back during the housing crisis, too. Like, that was a thing. So, like, I'm not saying that this is something that needs to be happening constantly unless we actually figure out some sort of policy in the future for, like, what's the word? I'm blanking today. My brain's all over the place. Whatever income, the thing. Why am I blanking? UBI, thank you. If there was something where actual economists sat down and figure out how to do UBI in a way that made the most sense, great, fine. separate issue, but just randomly doing stimulus checks I understand is a precarious thing that can cause actual economic issues. But that's not what was happening. Not really. It happened again in like 2008, happened once under COVID, and then a second smaller check after that. And that's it. Like, that's, in my life, those are the stimulus checks that happened. There were 3 ever. That's not that many, and they were all under very extraordinary circumstances. So I think it's a weird thing to get up in arms about.
Look, maybe this is maybe this is a serious crisis, at least an economic one. But what about the next time?
Yeah, but Michael, I mean, Medicare for all costs $32 trillion, but not $32 trillion a year.
That's right.
That number that Bernie said was over 10 years. So now we've set a precedent that $3 trillion a year for Medicare for all is not that much.
Yeah.
Oh no, we've established that we could do universal health care and it would actually be a good thing and it would be fine and we should do that, but Charlie Kirk doesn't want it and finds it horrifying because the wrong people might get health care. He was a scumbag. He was a bag of pond scum. Like, you can feel it. You pull it out of a fucking pond, and it's, like, gross and goopy, and you'd smack it, and it would feel disgusting. That's Charlie Kirk's personality.
In fact, it's perfectly affordable. But UBI, why not do it every quarter? Why not every month? And now the smart Alex that always come in my, podcast feed are going to say, well, Charlie, that's a slippery slope argument. Okay, well, first of all, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm asking you the question, why won't it happen? So, and no one has a thought.
I can't read that, Toreador.
Also, slippery.
I've already gone over the line too many times. I'm not going to read that.
Arguments are good. People sometimes forget this because they say, "Oh, you're just talking about a slippery slope." Like, yeah, well, everything conservatives have been warning about on the slippery slope over the last 30 years has happened.
True.
Yeah, so I'd like a little credit.
Not really. Remember when Republicans said that gay marriage was going to lead to people fucking animals because they're disgusting and compare gay people to animals and don't understand consent? Yeah, maybe shut the fuck up. Toreador says, okay, a normal one. What idiot put Charlie's mic right over his face in the shot? The man's face is small enough as it is.
Can you just speak a little bit about America's founding roots and how the American founders knew the Torah? And in fact...
okay, I don't want to hear about his stupid takes on the origin of America. Oh, remember when he tried to get Nebraska to change its electoral laws to benefit Trump, and then I think Massachusetts, or no, Maine said they were going to do it in a retaliatory fashion if they did, so they backed off. Actively trying to subvert democratic institutions to benefit fascists. He's just a wee little boy. He's just a wee little political pundit. He never did anything wrong in his whole life.
It's taken care of in Nebraska. We have a much easier path to the presidency here.
Nebraskans are tired of handing over their electoral votes to a second-place candidate.
Literally, it's because of how you guys are districted and certain people vote for the other person. How about we just go to a popular vote system for the president? Because that would make sense. And I'm tired of being ruled over by the dumbest fucking people in the country.
It's a key component, like I said, of the legislative plan. And Nebraskans are respectfully asking for the passage of this law to support Donald J. Trump as their next president.
Yeah, ranked choice would be best.
Do you want 4 more years of Joe Biden?
That would have been awesome, to be honest with you. That probably would have worked out better for Charlie Kirk, too. Butterfly effect and all. If Trump hadn't been elected, I doubt this would have happened to Charlie, so...
That's the answer that I was thinking you were going to say. All right, because this is the mentality that you have to have this year. One more. I want to tell you about this. One more idea. Because in Nebraska, we can get one more vote. In fact, because Nebraska is normally about the 40th or 41st decider for the presidential nomination.
I'm skipping to where Charlie comes in because I don't need to care about this guy.
And I'm going to paint a picture for you that none of us want to live through in November. It is unacceptable for us to live through, and here's where it is. Let's look at this one scenario right here. I want you to imagine...
You would prefer a literal corpse over Trump? Look, I don't like Trump either, but I'm not voting for Kirk either.
After, a whole week of counting ballots and, it's a counting week, I want you to imagine this. Donald Trump wins the state of Florida. Donald Trump flips the state of Georgia. Donald Trump wins the state of North Carolina. Donald Trump wins Ohio. He wins Iowa. He flips Arizona. He flips Nevada. And Joe Biden gets 270 electoral votes. And you see that little dot? Now, I'm not here to point any figures. What you guys were thinking to do this goofy system back in 1991, it was probably well intended, but this whole thing is just the goofiest thing I've ever seen.
More democratic systems, that doesn't help fascists, you silly Nebraskans. Didn't you know we'd have to elect a fascist to ruin the country?
I believe that we are currently being controlled by a small minority. And their time is coming up. And our
That is so wild when he's the one advocating for that. He's advocating for the less populous states to have control over federal decisions that affect more people than them. Oh my god, these people are so disingenuous. We're so disingenuous.
Soul to get them out of power.
Wait, Charlie's co-founder of Turning Point died of COVID? Oh, wow. Kinda seems like being a Republican is not very good for your health, at least not the fascist variety. Jesus.
Our communicator, our fighter needs our help. Trump needs your help. This movement is looking on Nebraska. The millions of patriots across the country that have now been activated on this topic are praying for you and your leaders. They're praying for this state. And I have full confidence that this beautiful...
We need to get Hannah a soundboard so she can play rim shots. Maybe that'll be the next tip goal. I'll buy one of those fucking soundboard things.
Place with some of the greatest people on God's green earth are going to step up boldly and courageously and get this done.
I'm warm, so I'm going to unzip this. Sorry. I'm still a judge or whatever. People for the American way. The American way is being the shittiest person alive, I guess. Sorry, he's not the shittiest person alive anymore. My bad. I'm wearing my Tammy and the T-Rex shirt, by the way. You're welcome. Do you own a Tammy and the T-Rex t-shirt? Probably not, because you're not as cool as me.
I do believe that we're living through one of God's greatest graces upon the Republic since its founding.
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt. I mean, I'm tracking 100. I've been saying the same thing. We're living through tremendous history this minute.
And I think God gave his grace at its founding. God gave his grace in the Civil War. God gave his grace in World War II. And I think that this is up there. Because
that Charlie admitting that the Civil War was about slavery? Probably not, right?
Where we were headed, it would have...
Honestly, this is ahead of World War II.
When I wake up at 2 a.m. and I hear a noise, I no longer think it's going to be the FBI.
That's true.
For me, no, we were on the list.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now
You thought the FBI under Biden was gonna come and get you for no reason? Delusional. Meanwhile, Trump's administration is actively sending masked police to kidnap people without any, information or who they are. They're just fucking snatching them, and this rich asshole was afraid fucking senioritis Biden was gonna send the FBI after him. Delusional projection. Fenekagami says, I'd like to point out that to Democrats, you have all played dead all year. You be the nicest you possibly can, appeased them at every turn, and what happens? The instant things go rough for them, the Republicans call you domestic terrorists. If they're gonna do that no matter what, can you get it through your thick heads that you might as well rhetorically and legislatively resist the Republicans? They don't care. Democrats are fucking spineless. Amber says, if we actually engaged in universal health, the cost would steadily decline. Why? Because our government could engage in collective bargaining, thus forcing companies to lower prices or lose access to America's massive market. This is how China forces media conglomerates like Disney into censoring things they don't like, so we know it can be done. Hell, our government is large enough to simply pass a law that nationalizes companies and turns meds into a public good. Hate the cost argument. Agreed. Lennon Cat says, of course they'd think it's more like World War II. They think the wrong people won World War II.
I know Kash Patel. We're in a much better place.
You're not going to get that.
I'm not.
Kash Patel, who's having trouble catching your murderer right now.
Gonna get the...
Aren't they glad that the fascist dipshits only know how to install cronies who don't deserve the positions? They literally put a social media influencer in charge of the FBI because he's a Trump loyalist. How's that working out? Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they'll catch the guy. I'd be shocked if they don't. In this day and age, it's virtually impossible to get away with a crime of this scale when this many people are looking for you. It's just, I doubt this person's gonna get away with it, but like, still probably doesn't help that you have incredibly incompetent people at the helm of federal investigation right now, right?
The 2 a.m. knock. No, for 4 years.
That's right.
6 months ago, Kash fired the head of the Utah office who had 20 years of experience. Yep, because she was a woman who wasn't white. They decided she was a DEI hire, which is just code for, we want white people in charge of most things, or at least Trump loyalists, and we're going to use DEI hires as an excuse to get rid of people we don't like.
Right.
We lived under a Soviet-style sword of Damocles.
Yeah.
It was kind of hanging over us.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, that sword of Damocles under the Trump administration went away, and Charlie Kirk never has to worry about anything ever again.
It's a call to action on Tuesday, and I'm telling you, I can start to feel the ground rumbling. I can feel it from Pennsylvania to North Carolina to Michigan to Wisconsin to Arizona to Oregon to New York. There's something seismic that is developing coming on Tuesday. But guess what? None of that will happen if we are just a spectator buying Relief Factor on television. By the way, great product, okay? Instead, it's gonna happen if the citizen, you, the American church, you, the Christian you, does something more heading into Tuesday. Reject apathy. You reject.
Toreador says, right now in some gritty noir version of our universe, she's out there right now tracking down the real killer while the big government tries to cover it up and spin it to their narrative.
Pessimism.
I saw someone make a joke that made me so sad because, like, I could see it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I don't think this, but as a joke, it made me very sad how, like, oh, I could see them trying to do that. And it was, when they can't find the person, they're just going to find any undocumented immigrant in their custody and throw a dress on them and try and claim that it's like, this is trans illegal immigrant violence, and use it as a justification to crack down on literally every political enemy they perceive.
You get into the arena and you say, you know.
Again, I don't think that's reality. I just find it as a thought to be quite funny, disturbing, and like, that's not as crazy as I would have thought it was 10 years ago.
What? People that came before me sacrificed so much so I can live in a free society. It's not about me. It's about our kids, it's about our grandkids, it's about the gospel. And that is being salt and light to a nation that needs it. Flood the polls on Tuesday. It's your biblical duty to do so.
Well, good for Charlie Kirk. He got everything he wanted. Be careful what you wish for, 'cause you just might get it all, and then some you don't want. Be careful what you wish for.
It is called Evangelicals for Harris. You were on the Zoom call. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I was able to listen in. It was a public call, and look, there's no such thing as evangelicals for Harris, right? This is an oxymoron. This is, this is no different. Other people have said this. It's Jews for Hitler, right? I mean, this is really what we're talking about here.
Genuinely disgusting rhetoric that he promoted. My God. Ooh, Charlie Kirk cringe compilation.
What does fetus mean?
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the?
That's like a conspiracy theorist folk etymology argument. What does fetus mean in Latin? I don't care. Word etymology is not how we determine the meaning of words. Hydrate.
I'm sorry, is this
It means little human being.
The smile. Look at him. Look at his smug little fucking...
His smile is very creepy. Okay,
Your smile is very creepy.
Smiling is creepy?
No, yours.
Yours, yeah.
Smile specifically.
Got it.
But let's go back.
What does fetus mean?
A fetus.
Human being.
Did Meat Canyon ever do a Charlie Kirk episode? If so, it feels like we should watch a Meat Canyon Charlie Kirk at some point.
Going to war with Iran would be catastrophic. Going to war with Iran would be a dreadful mistake, and that includes American military strikes on the interior of Iran.
12 seconds later.
And you might say, Charlie, do you support or oppose this? I support President Trump.
His suggested
No spine.
budget cuts
Which is crazy, because I think that's actually where he got hit, partially.
$1.5 trillion. I wish it should be even more. Just so
that is not true.
No, it is. It's okay. You could look it up.
$1.5 trillion would be the equivalent of cutting the entire American military budget and a half.
He's advocating for raising taxes on the ultra-wealthy. We'll see if that materializes.
That is an income tax. The ultra-wealthy generally do not take a large portion of their income from an income tax and take it instead from capital gains.
Well,
fundamentally increasing an 8% tax on Elon Musk, who takes like $10,000 as a salary or something stupid, will not make any material difference. This is a straw man argument, and it is obfuscating from the fundamental issue. Is the government for and run by oligarchs?
So it was all worth it, but we're having fun in DC.
Ironically, can I ask, does JD Vance actually wear eyeliner? I don't care. Is it just like his eyes are like that? Or what?
So it was all worth it, but we're having fun in DC. Stay safe out there.
And this plane. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone.
Want me to do? Do you not want them to protest? Like, why are you trying to always take away their right to protest? It's so hypocritical.
Because as soon you can peacefully protest.
I wonder if Hassan's gonna stop making public appearances. He should be very careful, genuinely. Like, I could very much see some right-winger being like, tit for tat, motherfucker, and taking out Hassan.
How is that hypocritical? Colin Kaepernick peacefully protested, took a knee. How is he doing that? You can't do that. Then
Fenekagami says, honestly, crap like this is why I prefer the violinist argument. There are legitimate problems by just saying a fetus isn't a human being that are better countered by pointing out that it doesn't matter if it's a human, its rights don't override the rights of the mother. Yeah.
Protest on the streets. If they protest on the streets, it's not acceptable. If they protest peacefully, it's not acceptable. It seems like you just don't want them to protest, because I didn't hear you yelling at Tea Party people.
True. It's almost like he's not an advocate for free speech, and he just wants power for people he agrees with politically. Thank you for the link. I know it's a JD Vance one, but it's got Kirk in it, so we might watch that. Yeah, they were supposed to do a debate later this month. Hassan said he's afraid of it happening to him. He should be. He should be fucking careful. He should not do any public speaking anything for a very long time. At least if it was me, that's what I'd be doing. This is the nice thing about being a not popular streamer. No one knows who the fuck I am. So that's good. Glad I don't have to worry about, you know, getting shot.
Right to protest? 100%. Or do you think people should only protest when it's things that you're in favor of?
No, I'm okay with this protesting. Here's the difference.
It doesn't seem like it.
So when you start interrupting a speaker and pulling the fire alarm and throwing objects, isn't that something wrong with that? That's entirely...
I think it's funny, but yeah, there is something wrong with that.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You're making a straw man argument about something. I believe that everyone has a right to protest peacefully however they see fit. You're creating this...
As long as they're not Colin Kaepernick.
No, you could say whatever.
As long as they're not the 30 students at Notre Dame who protested Michael.
I am not an apologist for Israel, but I reject wholeheartedly this narrative. Christians who turn their back on Israel, it says in Genesis and Romans, 1 Thessalonians, Paul said, if you bless Israel, you will be blessed. If you score...
If you're making your current political decisions based on what the Bible says, I hate you. If you are genuinely going like, well, you know, my foreign policy is really bolstered by this particular verse in the Bible, you should be in a padded cell. You should not have any political power of any kind. You should not be making political decisions. If that's how you think about the world, you're deranged. You have a mental illness. What's wrong with you?
Scorn Israel, you will be scorned. The Israeli government, plenty of suspicious things going on. How do we know the Bible is true? Every day there are archaeological discoveries that confirm the truths of the Bible in 1 Samuel, in 1 Kings, in 1 Chronicles. There is a diabolical satanic agenda every single day.
Satanic agenda, everything's satanic, everything's evil, everyone who disagrees with me is fucking satanic. Wow, he was such a nice guy, right? He was so... I've seen so many news organizations be like, he stood for open debate, and here he is calling his political enemies satanic. It's fucking crazy, the difference between how the media is trying to depict his legacy and the actuality of who he was. He was not open to debate. He wanted to strong-arm everyone into thinking he was right and silencing any of the people who disagreed with him. It's such horseshit.
To try and delegitimize the scriptures, and I will defend the Holy Land, the place that let me see where my Lord and Savior lived, and I will not apologize for that. Thank you very much.
Oh, we're so boned.
To say that Donald Trump is not releasing the Epstein files because he's in them in some incriminating way, yes, it's very clear that if you live in Palm Beach, you might have been mentioned and caught up in some sort of conversation with Jeffrey Epstein. Women.
So what? He helped get a pedophile elected to the most powerful position that humans have. Whatever. How do we not, like, every day lose our minds? Like, legitimately, think about it. Go back 20 years and tell people, hey, there's a good chance that the person with the most power in the entire world is an active child predator who has raped countless children, other people. He's just a terrible person. Like, the fact that we get up every day and just, like, go to work is crazy to me. That, like, I feel like we've all been... What do I want to say? I feel like we're getting lobster... What's the thing? In a pot. I know it's not true, but like crabs in a pot, you slowly bring up the temperature. You know what I mean? Just feels like things have happened so gradually. Gitara says, as an atheist, the constant appeals to faith from these people is crazy to me. They might as well say, Barney the dinosaur once said that everyone should do their share, therefore I must help in assuring that billions of people die. To me, these arguments are equally valid. That's what I don't get, too. Like, I understand most people are religious. I respect that. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's true, but I understand people are religious. But when you're talking about public affairs, things that affect the nation, the world, you cannot couch your arguments in your personal religious beliefs. That's crazy. You need secular justifications. Like, your personal beliefs are your business, but the second you start to try and convince other people, you gotta do better than that. You gotta.
Men should prioritize family and children way above career.
Way above career. Way above career. Way above career.
Guess what? I'm going to judge you if you eat rice with your hands. That's bad. That's wrong. Assimilation is a necessity, not a suggestion.
Hey, I ate pizza for lunch today, and I ate that with my hands. So what the fuck is he talking about?
Understand how good things are.
Genuinely just bizarrely, like, racist or xenophobic. Ugh.
When you don't have them for extended periods of time. The mind is a crazy thing. I'm eating buffalo wings.
Where's your evidence for this?
I mean, look, man, it's pretty where's my evidence?
Yeah.
I mean, anyone around you will tell you it's true. I mean, you could just look it up on any...
Everybody's saying the very legitimate argument of, I don't know, everyone says it. It must be true.
Multitude of examples.
What about a credible example?
Type into any search engine of your choice, okay? AI detects tumor quicker than, human.
Oh my god, is he arguing for AI?
And you will see that all across the country they're using AI, and they literally have no use anymore for people to read scans.
Yeah, that's not true, and that's actually a really dangerous dangerous argument. I saw a study they did recently where doctors who had started relying on AI lost their ability to accurately read scans themselves within 2 weeks. Their skills for doing it themselves degrade. So when AI doesn't pick up on something, or AI mistakenly picks up on something, the doctors lose their ability to accurately check the machine's work. So actually, no, it's not good, Charlie, you stupid bitch.
They double check the work sometimes, but at like a 99% veracity it works. Finally, other paralegals. Paralegals are like a thing of the past. Paralegals used to be people that would write up briefs. ChatGPT can read a 3,000-page legal brief in 30 seconds and summarize it more crisply and better in better language.
Mans is not doing well. Who? Let's see. Right side of Trump's face was drooping during a 9/11 commemoration today. Ooh! Oh my god, did he actually have a stroke at some point and they're hiding it? I'm sorry, you guys know I'm not like a conspiracy person, and I was like very angry at people for like the other week when Trump disappeared for days. Like when Trump disappeared for days, they're like, oh, he's dead. But did he have a stroke? Holy shit. That's like crazy. If we get Trump and Charlie Kirk the same month, I'll start believing in God, by the way. I promise, Jesus, if you're real, if you take Trump this month, I'll convert. Unitarianism, though.
Let's
not get crazy.
You had a daughter and she was 10 and she...
Charlie, your rhetoric is graphic in the sense that it affects real people.
Real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Charlie, do you think that someday when Charlie's daughter is old enough, she'll see this clip and see her dead father saying that if she had been raped at 10 years old, she would be forced to have the baby because he thinks that's what should happen? How will she feel about that, do you think? How do you think that'll affect her memory of her dead father, that in order to win political points in a debate, he said that if she was raped as a child, he would force her to have that baby? Very curious. Very curious.
If you were to board a United Airlines,
I ain't get the finish. Right.
If you were to board a flight with United Airlines, would you rather have a pilot that is qualified or one that is diverse?
They're not mutually exclusive. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Answer the question.
Wait, that makes no sense. Why is there two different things? How is it different? When you go to American Airlines...
Because in the pursuit of diversity, you sacrifice excellence. Every time. We know this with Harvard. Right. We know this with Yale. We know this with the military. Right. Every time, every example that we pursue diversity, an institution becomes less excellent. So it becomes subpar.
When you go on...
I like that he just says stuff. It's all vibes-based. I don't even think he has any stats to back this up. He just goes, I see less white people and more brown people, and me no likey. Me no likey.
Plain. Do you go to the pilot and ask for your credentials? Or do you believe that the airline did the right thing and hired the right? So you asked for their credentials.
Actually, I'm starting to. Hold on. I start to doubt it. That was my statement. That was my statement. Right. My statement was if you're going to go from 4% of the pilots being black to 50% of the pilots to be black, it begs the question: you are going to lower the standards.
No, it's not. You're just assuming that you have to because you think black people don't have the same skills as white people because you were racist. Again. His assumption is that the current state of affairs is already a meritocracy, which is absurd. I don't believe meritocracy exists. Human beings are incapable of it.
Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark have a 55 to 60% tax rate at the top level.
And we are one of the happiest countries in the world.
I found out about Charlie Kirk a few months ago, and I'll be honest, I'm absolutely fascinated by him, because I don't think I've ever seen somebody who's so indescribably bad at...
Chitara says Trump's address to the nation after Kirk died is speculated to have been touched up with generative AI to hide his current health condition. I'm not very conspiracy-minded, but considering how the Trump administration has been embraced open AI or generative AI, I wouldn't put it past them. That'd be hilarious. I gotta say that would be pretty out there even for them, so... But that would be hilarious.
At logical debate. Let's take a look at this example.
Would you say that a sub-Saharan...
Especially considering these are the same people who accused the Biden administration of hiding Biden's health. You know what I mean? It's funny, because everything they say is a projection, so it would be very on the nose if that was the case. H-Bird says, begs the question means you're assuming something is true to prove something is true. He's making a common misuse of that term, but it's still amusing that he's assuming his racism is true to prove that his racism is true.
An African woman who's experienced female genital mutilation and checks extremely happy in a survey, and I also would check extremely happy in a survey. Who do you think would be objectively more happy?
Now, what options does he have available to him in a logical debate? Well, first of all, he can answer the question. It's either A or B. Or maybe he thinks her question isn't valid, in which case he can attack one of her premises and explain why he's not answering the question. Instead, he responds with this.
If you want to talk about how Islam mistreats women, we can talk all day long.
And then follows up with this.
Should shut off Muslim immigration to the UK, right?
Instead of answering the question, he simply changes the subject to something that had nothing to do with the debate that came before. Now, whenever you see somebody debating something, always ask yourself, are they addressing the issues that were put towards them? And you'll notice with Charlie Kirk, he will do once or twice, but as soon as it gets too difficult, he just changes the subject completely to, I don't know, Muslim bad or woman home or one of his favourite topics. It's just non sequitur after non sequitur. When I first started TikToking in 2020, I did a series on logical fallacies, and over the last few months, I've genuinely thought about bringing this back purely through watching Charlie Kirk videos, because if you see a 1 minute Charlie Kirk clip, you are guaranteed a minimum of 3 logical fallacies. He tries to win arguments with a gotcha moment. He's not a logical debater. I'll be honest, I think it's quite sad that people like this get so much traction on social media.
I watch Charlie Kirk. I am enamored. I think Charlie...
Taxes 40 years, the wealth in this country, the wealth inequality has increased, which is the top 1% has grabbed the wealth of the majority bottom.
There are reasons why that's happened, but just so we are clear.
Why is that happening?
I'm happy to explain that. Just so we are clear, saying we're going to just raise tax on the billionaires, that statement, you just violated 2 out of the 10 commandments.
That's not...
Oh, he's going to be very upset when he finds out the person who killed him violated one of the 10 commandments. It's wild to me how Republicans just absolutely go to war with material reality, and they just live in a fantasy world. You can't fight material reality forever, though. We all die eventually. Just a Peach with a tip says, black and woman pilots did the hardest, most dangerous, and abusive jobs from the beginning. They were the best from the start. That's what Charlie Kirk and people don't get. When you're a minority, you have to work twice as hard just to be considered half as good. People around you, in particular, not all, but many white dudes, are gonna see you and think lesser of you just because that's how a lot of them fucking are. It's crazy that he doesn't understand that or doesn't listen to the actual experiences of the people he denigrated on a daily basis.
Not true.
Thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not covet.
Steal? Taxation is theft.
How is that
take
stealing?
other people.
Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's.
People's money.
How is that stealing?
Because it's their money.
We live in a society that is run by taxes. How is that stealing?
Well, taxations are a form of theft.
He said it! He said it! God, these people are such a fucking joke.
Definitionally, because it's not the government's money. It is private property that you earn.
That's actually personal property. Well, yeah, it's actually money. Private property would be like the factory. Personal property would be like your stuff.
Government
Someone breaks into your house, you call the police. When you have a fire, you call the fireman. When you want to drive, you drive on roads. When you want to mail, you use the U.S. Post Office. These are all taxes.
Yeah,
we all contribute as a society.
Of course.
This is elementary stuff. It's not theft. How do you run a society without taxes?
What happens if you don't pay your taxes?
Is it a safe place for a right-winger? Nope, banned. Bye.
I mean, you get the law handed to you, but...
Oh, okay, so therefore, so you pay taxes at gunpoint.
If you break the law, you should pay the fine.
No, exactly, that's the point, is that taxes are not voluntary. Nor do I think they should be voluntary. You just have to be honest and say, yes, at some form, the government has to forcibly take some of your money away. I agree with that. But just, we're going in so many different rabbit trails. Let me ask you just like a fundamental, simple question. Is that, do you want to see a government that fights for Christian principles or not?
That excludes the rest of the population? If we're not living in a theocracy, no, I want equal representation. And the church doesn't need to have government in order to thrive. In fact, in suffering and humility, the church thrives.
I don't think the place exists.
What?
Because it doesn't. It's called Judea and Samaria. It's not called Palestine.
You don't believe that Palestine have the right to exist?
No, everyone has a right to exist.
Palestine, I just want to put it out there. Palestine still exists, unlike some other stuff.
Just show me where it is. It's a non-existent place.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we're gonna.
That's why we're on different planets, right? But what is the national identity of Palestine? Educate me.
Palestinians.
What is that?
Like, what do you mean? What is that?
Yeah, what ethnicity are they?
Arabs.
Okay, so all Arabs are Palestinians?
No, that's not what he said. You can have an ethnic group that isn't the entirety of the ethnic group in an area. You could have people in Palestine be Arab, but that doesn't mean all Arabs are Palestinian, you stupid asshole. Like, does he, I can't even tell, was he that stupid to make that point? Or is he just that disingenuous? I can't tell.
No, but they are Arabs? What you trying to say? What is your point?
I'm trying to say, because at what point does somebody become a Palestinian?
When he was...
They live in Palestine, the region.
Born in Palestine, or if his parents are Palestinians?
Again, this is why we're talking past each other.
What you trying to say?
I don't think the place exists.
It does. It is a physical location where people live.
What?
Because it doesn't. It's called Judea and Samaria. It's not called Palestine.
You don't believe that Palestine have the right to exist?
No, everyone has a right to exist. Show me where it is.
I can show you on a map. That's fine.
It's a non-existent place.
If you look at any map before 1948, you will find exactly where Palestine is. The problem is that Charlie has accepted money from a certain group that does not want Palestine to exist. That is why his judgment is clouded. That is why he is creating this circular response of ignorance. He has some good takes, but this one...
He does not have good takes. He has 0 good takes.
He fails on this one.
I will not have been somebody who has defended the genocide of the Palestinian people. And I think you will have to reckon one day that you have reckoned with...
Interesting. I want to close on this. So can you tell me what African country is currently ongoing a civil war?
Believe it or not, I know about Sudan.
Okay, good. How about what Southeast Asian country has an ethnic cleansing going on right now?
Myanmar.
Good. And you have strong opinions on both sides?
Charlie Kirk is such a stupid asshole. All he had in that moment was, yeah, sure, I defend genocide, but do you know about these other geopolitical events? This man defended genocide consistently. I'm not going to cry for him. I'm just not. He didn't shed a tear for a single dead Palestinian child. He fucking celebrated it, if anything. So I'm just not going to hear it. I can't. H-Baird says, this is like saying Holland doesn't exist because the name of the country is the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Yeah.
Unlike you, I take an effort to be informed about foreign policy and to come to conclusions. You are a culture warrior. I believe when everything is done, Mr. Kirk, people will see you and the people you supported as corrupt, as selling the country out to the lowest bidder, and of doing irreparable damage to a country I'm sure we all deep down love.
The difference...
I think you will have to reckon with that
difference
one, Mr. Kirk.
Is when...
Fuck yeah! That kid ruled.
Suggested budget cuts $1.5 trillion. I wish it should be even more.
That is not true.
No, it is. It's okay. You could look it up.
$1.5 trillion would be the equivalent of cutting the entire American military budget and a half.
He's advocating for raising taxes on the ultra-wealthy. We'll see if that materializes.
And taking instead from capital gains.
Well,
fundamentally increasing an 8% tax on Elon Musk, who takes like $10,000 as a salary or something stupid, will not make any material difference. This is a straw man argument, and it is obfuscating from the fundamental issue that is a government for and run by oligarchs.
I know they played that clip earlier, but it was good, so I wanted to continue to play it again.
The problem with Charlie Kirk is, I think he's insincere. I think he's arrogant. He's not polite, but I think that
I don't really give a shit what Nick Fuentes says unless it's the clip where he admits that Charlie Kirk he considers a white nationalist, so I'm going to move
degrees and advanced subjects
of joining NATO. They are the most corrupt country in Europe that
get degrees in advanced subjects.
Another reason why they are the most corrupt country in Europe that never even met the most remote standards of joining NATO. Do you not know where a lot of this money is going?
I don't disagree that there is a problem with corruption, but the most corrupt country in Europe, are you sure about that?
I'd have to think, I'd have to double or triple think about that, but they're very...
Then why'd you say it, asshole? No, I just say things, and then if you question me on it, I'll back up and say I'd have to think about it, because I'm a little weasel, you know how it is.
Very corrupt.
Okay, so that's a little bit doubtful. It's not absolute.
Well, I mean, well,
would you... There's corruption around. I mean, let's face it, we are talking about comparison with some of the states you're doing business with in the Gulf.
Oh, of course, but we're not giving them money, they're giving us money. That's the difference, right? Saudi Arabia.
Oh, so it's fine.
Well, hold on a second.
It's morally acceptable.
It's fine to be corrupt when I'm profiting off of it, obviously.
Well, take money from corrupt people.
Well, hold on.
I'm sorry, you're so right, Freyline. Was a little weasel.
First of all, as far as morally acceptable, you do what's best in the benefit of your country.
Oh, well.
In the IDF, when they do something right, they get no credit. When they do life-saving surgeries of a Gazan child, they get no credit. When they drive...
Yeah, because they're the ones that fucking bombed the child initially, and guess what? They're not saving most of them. Also, can you find me an example of many times the IDF has ever been like, oh no, we killed a Palestinian child, we better help them, instead of, murdering more and laughing about it? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's insane! Vest Demon, thanks for 19 months at tier 2.
Drop leaflets, they get no credit. But when they happen to bomb a...
Oh, it's okay, they warned everyone before bombing the area and destroying all their homes and lives. That's fine. They're good. They're real good for warning people before they destroy their land.
Place where they are operating their military from.
So you're comparing abortion to the Holocaust?
Absolutely I am. In fact, it's worse.
It's worse than the Holocaust.
It's worse.
Well, glad I don't have to bait him ever.
With kids are not the ones tearing down statues, right? They're the ones that actually have obligations.
Does tearing down statues correspond to some kind of smiles per capita data set that I wasn't aware of?
Again, it's a little bit of a one-liner.
This one's kind of recent. This was his really weird, take on Taylor Swift. I don't even know where to go with this. So, Taylor Swift. I don't give a shit about Taylor Swift or her fiance, particularly. I'm not one of these weird people who's also anti them. They're human beings. Happy for them, whatever. But I'm not into celebrity culture, so I don't have strong feelings about it either way. But Charlie Kirk decided to have a whole segment about it. I guess, because right-wing chuds are obsessed with Taylor Swift. I guess, because it's representative of some kind of femininity they don't like. I don't know.
But maybe one of the reasons why Taylor Swift has been so just kind of annoyingly liberal.
This woman doesn't even prostrate herself to all men.
Over the last
She writes songs about relationships with men outside of marriage. What a harlot.
couple of years is that she's not yet married.
I'm not a Gaylor truther. No, I do want to cover that on Tinfoil at some point. That's a really weird community. For those that don't know, there's a whole internet community of people who think that Taylor Swift is secretly a lesbian, or at least bisexual, I guess, and that the relationship she has with her fiancé is a PR thing. It's like deranged tinfoil. Like, it's the kind of people who ship real-life people. It's fucking gross. Don't ship real-life people, you weirdos. Fenekagami says, how the F do people hear this so-called Christian man speak so gleefully about humans being replaced completely by machines and not get red flags? I have no idea. No idea.
Married and she doesn't have children. I say this non-sarcastically. I say this as a husband and a father. Having children changes you. Getting married changes you. And I hope that America's biggest pop star marrying the pharmaceutical spokesperson ends up conservatizing them. Taylor Swift might de-radicalize herself.
She's not radical. She's like the most generic Facebook wine mom, cat lady, whatever. What is even her political position? Women should vote? Like, is that radical? I'm sorry, are we going that back far that we think that women shouldn't have the right to vote? Like, what exactly?
She might come back down to reality. I want them to have lots of children. It teaches you something about yourself. Deep down, I think Taylor
He is way too invested in these people he has never met once.
Swift actually was raised as a conservative that has gotten kind of caught up in this metropolitan liberal stuff. And
I don't even know what he's talking about. What is he?
She doesn't.
Like, what? What has Taylor Swift done that's radical? She's just a woman in public view that's wealthy? I don't understand.
Didn't quite have an attachment to the conservative backbone that she was raised in, but this might reattach her.
Conservative backbone?
In the best possible way. And I'm not saying this sarcastically. I've seen this happen time and time again. When people start to get married and have children, it starts to change your politics. It starts to clarify your worldview. And for Taylor Swift, who obviously is very popular and incredibly supported, Taylor Swift might go from a cat lady to a J.D. Vance supporter. And I think we should.
That's interesting that he said J.D. Vance supporter and not a Trump supporter, too. Does he know something we don't know?
Should celebrate that.
Xandris, with an arrow pointing towards their name, says, was married, has 2 kids, and yeah, my politics evolved as I got older. I became way more left-wing. That's so funny, too. My dad is a right-wing piece of shit. And, like, you could, in theory, be, I guess, a Republican and not be, like, the worst person ever, maybe just ignorant or whatever. But my dad is not that. He's, like, actively, like, a huge Trump supporter. He's a fascist creep. He hates trans people, hates queer people, does not care about any other human beings. Real creep of a guy. Terrible person. Oh shit, where was my train of thought for this? Oh, he would say, like, when you get older, you're gonna get more conservative, and it's like, no, you're just a dipshit. You were always a dipshit, and you never had any empathy, and for some reason, as you got older, decided to get propagandized to by Fox News. I've gotten more left as I've gotten older. Just saying, this idea that you get more conservative as you get older happened during an era where people were generally, at least the majority of the population, felt relatively safe and comfortable and felt like they had agency in their political system and felt like they had, like, something to conserve, a system that enriched them or at least allowed them to live comfortable lives, and that just doesn't exist today. So it's deranged that they thought that. Fenekagami says they want so desperately to be popular. You know what helps to be popular? Not being a shitbag. Just saying.
I think that Taylor Swift having 2 or 3 children, she should have more children than she has houses. That is my challenge, Taylor Swift. And I'm not being sarcastic. I think that if she...
How about other people's reproduction or lack thereof is none of your business, and stop talking about it, you goddamn creep. Just a Peach with a tip says, having 7 kids never changed their political views. They voted to make life better for children. I find it crazy that, like, my dad and my mom have actively voted in every election during my entire life to make my life worse. Like, you'd think that parents would want the lives of their children and their children's children to get better and easier, but consistently, my parents' entire political identity my entire life has been making the place we live worse for everyone because they're dumb assholes. Toreador says, narrator, he did indeed shut up about it. He did. Zytam says, I got more conservative. I used to be a burn it all down anarchist. Now I'm just a socialist. Oh, there's something.
If she ends up having children, she'll stop this kind of liberal endorsing Joe Biden nonsense. And we want Taylor Swift on Team America. We want you to leave the island of the wokies. And we would...
Do you think that Charlie Kirk walked up to Charon and was like, is this boat fucking woke?
Welcome you with open arms. One of the reasons why so many people on the right have been just skeptical or at least a little bit negative on Taylor Swift is, up until this point, that's not a great role model for young women, to wait all the way until you're 35 and just put your career first. We just talked about this with Katie Miller. However,
Charlie Kirk is going to miss Taylor's wedding. Oh, sad face.
It's a great chance to change that. It's a great chance for Taylor Swift now to get married and have a ton of children. You can certainly afford it, Taylor. And Taylor Swift has been all...
That's actually the twist. The shooter is going to turn out to be a Swiftie who was very upset that he said these things.
You know, through America and the ups and the downs. And if you feel that violent shaking in your home, that is the earthquake of the pop culture. If you hear that high-pitched scream, those are the young ladies on your block screaming. And honestly, Pfizer pays well, baby. I mean, Pfizer pays the bills. That is quite a ring, Mr. Kelsey. I'm impressed. I got to be honest. We don't know exactly how much Pfizer paid you to peddle that product, but boy, you brought in the Benjamins, sir. That
Yeah, he's a professional athlete married to a billionaire.
is some
I don't even understand what is he doing here? Like, what is the point of this part of the bit? It's just like, you'd have money. Like, yes, you're a conservative. Shouldn't you be impressed that he has money? That's like your whole worldview is money is like the whole point of everything.
impressive. That is some impressive carrots right there. That right there has its own zip code. I'm impressed. All kidding and sarcasm aside, this is something that I hope will make Taylor Swift more conservative. Engage in reality more and get outside of the abstract clouds. Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor.
Great. Amber says, not for nothing, but isn't it weird that all these libs and right-wingers are whitewashing Kirk and wringing their hands while they don't say shit about political violence being unacceptable when a far-right weirdo assassinated 2 Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota? There's a double standard. It's fucked up. There's a complete double standard. Right-wing people murder people for political reasons all the time, and it just doesn't get discussed. People totally forget Jan 6 even fucking happened. I'm just tired. I'm tired of the double standard. I'm not buying into it anymore. I just don't give a shit. I'm not gonna pretend that, like, it's a shock that this happened. I just can't. I can't. This is who we are. This is what we've become. It is what it is.
You're not in charge. And most importantly, I can't wait to go to a Taylor Kelsey concert. I can't say it without laughing. You got to change your name. If not, you don't really mean it. Congratulations, Taylor.
What a weirdo. Oh, this is the time that he got tricked into saying that a shark fetus is a person.
I'm not comfortable associating myself with eugenesis or that quote, if that answers your question.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. Because
Awesome.
I got plenty for you.
Awesome. How many children do you have?
None yet.
Why?
Well, I got married in May, so it's a work in progress.
So you're working on having kids soon.
He was cream pieing his wife consistently.
Why haven't you adopted yet? Are you going to adopt kids that are in need of help?
So
Dolphin fetus, that's what it was. Thank you.
I do kind of live a busy life. But
We
I
all
would love
live
to
busy
adopt.
lives.
Actually, it's on the table.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So Charlie's going to adopt soon. Excellent.
Potentially.
At 8 weeks, we have tails. At 8 weeks, an embryo has tails. Do humans have tails, Charlie?
I'm sorry, what?
Serious question. Do human beings have tails?
I'm not exactly sure the essence of the
Do
question.
human beings have tails? Do you have a tail?
You know, I have never met anyone with a tail. I'm not exactly sure the
Exactly. But
wisdom of the
fetuses have tails. Kind of proves that at that phase, they are not a human being. They
I want to point out, I don't find this to be a particularly convincing piece of rhetoric. It's mostly a snarky bullshit thing, because of course it is. It's on the Charlie Kirk show. But it is funny, so I'm going to point that out. This is not a convincing argument. I would never use any of this in a discussion about abortion. I just find it kind of funny.
They got tails. Humans don't have tails. We're not dinosaurs. Let me even show you a photo, if I may, okay? Do you truly, in your heart of hearts, truly believe that this is a human being? This,
Without a doubt.
without a doubt,
Yes.
this is a dolphin fetus.
So let me.
Without a doubt, a dolphin fetus is a human being. This is a human fetus. Look how similar they look, but quite different. Dolphin. You just confirmed that a dolphin, in life, do you confuse dolphins for human babies often?
So let me
You
ask
go to
you a question.
SeaWorld and you're like, someone's got human babies in that aquarium. Get the human babies out of the aquarium.
Well, you labeled it as a human fetus.
No,
so
I
you
did
that
not.
dishonestly.
No, I did not.
But
I didn't label it as anything.
Let me. But you.
Doesn't say human fetus on there.
Let me ask you a question though. So let's hold up those two pictures again.
Sure.
So that's it for that one. All right, here's an article. This is a pretty apt article. This was posted in 2023. Charlie Kirk says gun deaths unfortunately worth it to keep the Second Amendment. Charlie Kirk, the conservative founder and president of Turning Point USA, said during an organizational event on Wednesday that gun deaths in exchange for the preservation of the Second Amendment right is part of American reality. Kirk comments come about 1 week after 3 children and 3 adults were killed at the Christian Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee. The Nashville mass shooting was the 130th mass shooting in the United States in 2023, according to the Gun Violence Archive, an online database of gun violence incidents across America using data collected from law enforcement, media, government, and commercial sources. The U.S. has averaged more than 1 mass shooting per day since the start of 2023, per the archive, which puts the nation on track to exceed the 647 recorded mass shootings of 2022.
Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. And that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000.
This is praxis, by the way. Him dying was praxis. So I salute Charlie Kirk for living his politics in a way that most conservatives do not.
50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having product, service.
You know, I don't need a gun to go to work, surprisingly. So I don't think that that comparison is apt. And again, I'm not a ban all guns person. I'm really not. For me, the line is probably something like semi-automatic rifles. I think if you can't do it with a bolt action, what are you doing? Just saying. I don't think you need to own a semi-automatic rifle. I'm fine with semi-automatic pistols. And you're still going to have gun violence with that. I understand that. I'm just saying, I don't think that's an unreasonable line. There's nothing you need to be doing with a gun domestically that requires you to shoot as fast as you can pull the trigger. Period.
Is worth the cost.
You could disagree with me, by the way. That's not like a hard stance I hold. That's just like how I feel about it. It's whatever.
Of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, yes,
by having more armed guards in front of schools.
Hey, fun fact, at Uvalde, there were like 20 cops that were armed and there, and they just let the guy keep killing people, keep killing kids. So that doesn't do anything. Fun fact. Yeah, and he used racism too, because he's Charlie Kirk and he was a bad guy. He was a fundamentally bad human being, and I will not pretend otherwise.
We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's...
No one is claiming 0 gun deaths is the goal. They're trying to get to a situation where we can mitigate the amount of deaths that happen in mass shootings, which I'll remind you, most mass shootings are perpetrated by the kind of people that watched Charlie Kirk. Conservative, right-leaning white men. Again, that's not universal, but it is, interestingly, the vast majority. But of course, Charlie Kirk doesn't want to talk about that because he can't, because he actively spent his life perpetuating the kinds of rhetoric that spurred people to do mass shootings. So of course he can't talk about it. He was part of the problem.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth...
In my opinion. Amber says, also personally, we would love to abolish cars. They've poisoned our air, ruined urban planning, and made an entire country less accessible for disabled people. Accessible, cheap, public-owned tramways and trains are more practical. Cars bad. Fight us. I would say that's a good ideal. It would take a long time to implement. But yes, I wish that our cities were much more based on public transportation and were more accessible. But
worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year. So that we...
Hey, anyone sad about Charlie Kirk's death? Anyone that says what I'm doing, by the way, if there's any, like, right-wing people, I know there were some earlier watching that I, like, banned from chat. If they think what I'm doing is disrespectful, by the way, you're actually disrespecting Charlie Kirk's memory. He knew that this was a thing, right? He says it's fine. This is part of being a free American, is sometimes people get shot in the neck and bleed a liter out of their neck in 5 seconds. And that's freedom, baby.
But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal.
Fun fact, if God gave you rights, you wouldn't need to protect them with a gun. God didn't give you rights. They're social agreements that we keep with each other. That's why you think you need the guns.
It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. Sure. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know. How did we...
Is he going to say Jesus? Is he going to be like, we need Jesus in schools?
Stop shootings at baseball games. Because we have armed guards outside of baseball games. That's why. How do we...
I'm pretty sure they had cops at Charlie Kirk's thing. So those are armed guards. They didn't seem to help him very much. That's weird.
We stopped all the shootings at airports. We have armed guards outside of airports. How do we stop all the shootings at banks? We have armed guards outside of banks.
Hey, fun fact, we don't have historical problems with mass shootings at those places, so what a weird non sequitur. This is like Lisa with the, like, rock that stops bear attacks.
How do we stop all the shootings?
Making fun of him is what Charlie would have wanted, and then there's a link. 1 second. Charlie Kirk once said empathy was a made-up New Age term. Yes, he prefers the term sympathy, because, I don't know, I guess it allows him to not care about people as much if he calls it something different. I don't know. Anyway, where were we? Lost it. There it was.
Shootings at gun shows. Notice there's not a lot of mass shootings at gun shows. There's all these guns. Because everyone's armed. Now we must...
Crazy that there was no one armed at the Charlie Kirk event in Utah. It's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Charlie Kirk, victim of gun violence. Don't know what else to say about that. Oh, remember when he tried to say Martin Luther King Jr. was a terrible person? Conservative activist and Turning Point USA co-founder Charlie Kirk has a lot of opinions on Martin Luther King Jr. Skipping down. In December 2023, speaking before a group of students and teachers at America Fest, a political convention organized by Turning Point USA, Kirk struck a different tone. Quote, MLK was awful, Kirk said. He's not a good person. He said one good thing he actually didn't believe. Quote, for a while, Dr. King's stock was very much on the rise in conservative circles in the Republican Party, says John Wood Jr., It's been understood on the right that even though Dr. King wasn't really one of us politically, he was still a, quote, good liberal. For Kirk, the shift on King wasn't an offhand remark, but a glimpse into his broader strategy to discredit the civil rights leader in the landmark legislation most associated with King, the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Quote, I have a very, very radical view on this, but I can defend it. And I've thought about it, Kirk said at America Fest. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 60s. You know, that ended, like, Jim Crow laws and made sure people had the right to vote regardless of their skin color. Turning Point USA, founded in 2012 by an 18-year-old Kirk to organize conservative students on college campuses, has grown into an ideological force in right-wing politics. America Fest, which took place at a convention center in downtown Phoenix, featured speeches by right-wing heavyweights Donald Trump Jr., Tucker Carlson, and U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida. Nearly 20,000 people attended the four-day event, according to Kirk. Closely aligned with Donald Trump, the group has been seen as a way to replace the modern Republican establishment with younger people more aligned with 45th U.S. president and reactionary politics. Kirk argues that the Civil Rights Act, which bars discrimination on the basis of race, ushered in a, quote, permanent DEI-type bureaucracy, referring to diversity, equity, and inclusion. He illustrated how the law has gone wrong when responding to a question from a student who said they became the subject of a Title IX investigation after posting an Instagram story mocking transgender people. Good. Title IX, which was passed as part of the Education Amendments of 1972, banned schools that receive federal funding from discriminating on the basis of sex. King was assassinated 4 years prior in 1968. Quote, the courts have been really weak on this, Kirk told America Fest crowd. Federal courts just yield to Civil Rights Act as if it's the actual American Constitution. It's a law that was passed by the federal legislature as outlined in the Constitution. So it does have the power of law, Kirk, you goddamn moron. The law is ultimately a way to refound the country and a way to get rid of the First Amendment. Kirk's attempt to discredit civil rights law is an example of how the fringe moves to the center at the speed of light in right-wing politics, says public policy scholar Jonathan Rausch. One sec. If they're going to say the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was the death of the Constitution and freedom in America, then it's going to be extremely divisive because a lot of people are going to say, well, if that isn't racist, I don't know what is, Rausch says. This is the federal law that ended segregation. Kirk supported the Civil Rights Act and was an architect of it, Rausch adds. I guess if you're going to go down this road, you have to say King was wrong and maybe King was a bad person. Kirk's comments at America Fest were merely a preview of his attacks on King. He recently said that he plans to release content to discredit MLK on January 15th, King's birthday, which is a U.S. federal holiday honoring King. We're going to be hitting him next week, Kirk said on his podcast. Yeah, on the day of the Iowa caucus, it's MLK Day. We're going to do the thing you're not supposed to do. We're going to tell the truth about Martin Luther King Jr. You better tune in next week. Blake has already been preparing. It's going to be great. Jesus Christ. Blake is an apparent reference to Blake Neff, a producer of The Charlie Kirk Show. In 2020, Neff resigned from his job at Fox News as Tucker Carlson's top writer after CNN revealed he'd been making racist posts under a pseudonym. Fox News' CEO Suzanne Scott called Neff's post abhorrent. Oh my god, he went and worked for Charlie Kirk? Are you fucking serious? I remember that story. Oh my god! Yeah, Tucker Carlson's top writer got outed. He was like posting on 4chan or some shit. Yeah. He says, oh my god, writer Blake Neff responded to a thread started by another user in 2018 with the subject line, would you let a jet black Congo slur do LASIK eye surgery on you for 50% off? Neff wrote, I wouldn't get LASIK, this is a quote, I would not get LASIK from an Asian for free, so no. This was one of Charlie Kirk's... He hired him after this. He got fired from Tucker Carlson, and Charlie Kirk was like, better grab that guy. Nazi. Charlie Kirk, in my opinion, was the ideological equivalent to a neo-Nazi in a fucking suit. Jesus Christ. Neff has also been publicly laying the groundwork for rewriting the history on King, attempting to link him to violent unrest after the passage of the Civil Rights Act. Martin Luther King Jr. gets praised for being a peaceful activist, Neff said on Jack Prosobiec's Human Events Daily podcast in December, but what they always end up glossing over is actually the mid-60s and late 60s civil rights activism becomes a very violent thing. Good! They needed to do what they needed to do to get rights. Are you seriously being like, oh, if those black folk had just calmed down a little, I'm sure we would have given them rights eventually. That's deranged. That is the rhetoric of a white nationalist hiding behind rhetoric they don't even believe because they're too afraid to just say they don't think non-white people are people. This is sick. This is disgusting. This is the heart of everything Charlie Kirk stood for. Was white nationalism disguising itself in a presentable way by wearing a suit. It's disgusting. He took Richard Spencer's playbook and ran with it. Fucking hell. Quote, a core part of this fake history of America is the elevation of MLK into a saint whose entire being is beyond reproach and above question, Colvett said in an emailed statement. This sanctified version of MLK strips away his actual views and ignores his actual actions. The real MLK was a complicated person. Everyone is a complicated person, but let's not pretend you just have an interest in some sort of historical accuracy. You are using this as a rhetorical tool because MLK Jr. is the centerpiece in the public consciousness around the civil rights movement of the 60s, and you think by destroying that cornerstone you can drag us back to a segregation era, or even before that, and it's not happening. No! The answer is no! Do you hear the answer? No! Anyway. Where's that Meat Canyon video?
No, don't cry, no, it's okay.
What's the issue?
You're pretty sure Charlie didn't hear the answer? I think he heard it pretty clear.
You got yourself a crying baby?
We do not advocate for political violence, by the way. I think it's a terrible thing.
Yeah, he's been having a bit of a fit all morning.
Let me take a look. I'm really good with babies, may I?
Well, I
Thank
don't...
you.
Oh, okay.
I assume... Oh, there's Charlie Kirk!
I don't agree with anything you're saying.
Shut up, dog, shut up! that a baby crying? Oh, God. Oh, is this your baby? Let me help.
Is it your baby, ma'am? Let me take a look. Look, take. Gucci goo. Are you autistic, little boy? Do you have a peanut allergy? Here, eat this peanut and tell me how you feel. Oh, God. His throat's closed. He's definitely autistic.
Welcome, Raiders! Thank you, Tina, for the raid. How was your stream? I hope it was good. We're just talking about Charlie Kirk and his legacy and the things he believed, and not vaguely lib posting about him like so many people are. Oh, he was such an advocate for free speech. Oh, really? What was he saying? Was he? I don't think he was. I think he was just an asshole, actually. So we're going over the shit he said when he was alive, which he's not now. We are, though. Isn't it cool being alive? Like, I'm a trans woman, and I'm alive. Isn't that so cool, being alive? I love it. It's so much better than the alternative. Check out Tina 2 here on Twitch. There's a link in the chat.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Oh my, wow, thanks. Thanks again. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Jesus Christ. Oh boy, what are we gonna do next? I guess let's watch some of this, and then at some point we'll call it a night. We'll see how much of this I can sit through, because I really fucking hate Jubilee. But here it is.
Men can give birth?
I think that...
yes or no question?
Skipping the intro.
Murder and should be illegal. My first prompt is, abortion is murder and should be illegal.
I can't believe Charlie Kirk got aborted. Yes, forcible. No, the parent is consenting.
Otherwise known as a fetus. Do we agree that's what abortion is?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm not a fan of the forcible word there. It puts the primary perspective of the statement on the fetus, which is not a person with a perspective, unlike the person carrying the fetus. So I would say nix the forcible. That's crazy. That would be like calling a tonsillectomy a forcible removal of your tonsils, like as if the tonsils are the primary subject of the interaction. Oh, fucking bad. I'm getting warm, so I'm gonna take this off. We're almost done for the day anyway, so...
These people aren't.
Sorry, nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet you.
I could never do this either. I could be like, nice to meet you. You're objectively a terrible person that wishes I was dead, but nice to meet you. Social niceties, right? That's the most important thing. Because we pretend everything attacked people all the time and called them dumb and stupid. And also, it doesn't matter if you're civil if what you're debating is, like, the destruction of people's lives. Like, you could argue, like, a Nazi could have a quote-unquote civil debate about their final solution, but they're not civil, they're not good, you know what I mean? Civil just means you're talking and being polite. I am so tired of this idea that, like, being polite is the ultimate form of morality. It's not. Nice and good are very different things. I'm not always a nice person. I try to be a good person. They're very different things. Nice is different than good. I am begging people to push this through the peristalsis, through your brain. Get it in there.
4 to 26
Well, it's
weeks.
20. The youngest ever in a NICU unit actually happened in San Diego, not far from here, and survived at 20 weeks.
Okay, so under
Fennec Kagami says, abortion is self-defense under your terms, Kirk. Understand your ground doctrine. Not consent mostly, and that baby isn't, how do I put this? I don't consider that fetus to be a person. I also, if we're talking about old folks, that's a different issue, but I also think that consensual euthanasia should be a thing. But that's, again, with people's consent, and you can't really get that when people have dementia. You take care of those people because they're people, basically, is the difference.
First of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
A fetus.
Kirk advocated for violence basically the last 10 years. Yeah, he had a whole thing. Let me see if I can find this, actually. Like, I know when Nancy Pelosi's husband got attacked by that guy with the hammer, he literally was, like, making jokes about it and saying that the attacker should get bailed out to help midterms. So, like, anyone trying to pretend like he made jokes about his political enemies fucking dying all the time. Like, I find it so strange that anyone would pretend like he was this, like, respectable guy. He was not.
Is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the
What does fetus mean in Latin? Okay, I'm gonna skip the fucking abortion thing. Ugh. What's the next topic? Trans people exist. Again, I don't know. Why do they think they, like, it's like the entire argument is just, what, you think trans people exist? Yes! I am a trans person, I exist, we exist. Your whole argument is just, what, you think trans people are real? Yes! Literally, yes! I'm asking you to acknowledge that, yes! I'm sorry it makes you uncomfortable. That's life.
Your evidence that college is a scam, my friend.
College is a scam?
You're lacking in a lot of...
Sorry, 3 million, I said 30 million. My brain's all over the place today. Do they just get people with no debate experience? Like, I feel like, I hate Jubilee. Am I fucking crazy? Like, they just... How do I explain the debate style of people on Jubilee? It's like they're having a conversation with another person and not debating. It's like they don't understand what a debate is. It's like they're genuinely trying to convince them and they just keep talking and talking and talking and talking with no clear arc to the argument they're trying to make. It doesn't feel like they have an argument. It feels like they're vomiting their opinions in a constructed way. It's crazy. Funny, because that is kind of how you would have to define a table. There's so many different kinds of tables. It's kind of like what the Supreme Court justice said about porn. For a lot of things, it's not a case of a direct definition that applies to all things. It's you know it when you see it, right? So I could come up with a definition of a table, you know, a flat top that has 4 legs, but not every table has 4 legs. Sometimes a table has a completely flat bottom that it just sits on, you know what I mean? Or it's a solid coffee table that's just like a rectangle and it doesn't really have 4 feet or anything like that. You could do something similar with chairs or whatever. But the thing about the trans argument when they bring this up, they try to get into some like gotcha moment. Here is the long and short of it. I am a human being. I have feelings. I was born with genitals and with a body that make me desperately uncomfortable. I hate it and it makes me want to die every single day. The only thing that makes me feel more comfortable and like life is worth living is living my life as a woman. I don't care how you view that. I don't care how you define it. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to do that. And I deserve rights. And I'm not going to be treated like shit over it. I don't really give a fuck about what specifics you think about me. That's the reality. And there's a lot of other trans people in the world too. So you just have to deal with it. So all this trying to delegitimize trans people, whatever. We're here. We're human beings. You have to deal with us. Stop treating us like pests. Stop treating us like rats. Stop treating us like others. We are human beings that deserve basic dignity. And I'm just so tired of having this fucking discussion called circular I can't make the joke I want to make. Okay. I gotta be done for the day because I'm about to make some jokes that I really can't make because he frustrates me so much. But on the bright side, I never have to listen to a single word Charlie Kirk has ever said ever again. It's all in the past tense. I don't have to hear about this fucker. I just don't. Look, like I said, I abhor political violence. I don't think it's good. I think it's a terrible thing. I think the fact that this happened is an indictment on the current state of politics in this country and the current state of discourse and the state of people who are on the public stage in America trying to convince people of their political opinions. But I will say this. Charlie Kirk is a man who spent his entire adult life advocating for more guns, more intense rhetoric, and more hate. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but lives are complicated, right? People are complicated, and usually the book of someone's life doesn't really make sense as a narrative. Weirdly, Charlie Kirk's life makes a lot of sense. He spent every day making America worse and angrier and more violent. He belittled the deaths of children in pursuit of power. And he inevitably became a victim of a system he helped build brick by brick. The last page of his book has been written, and it is one soaked in irony as well as his blood. If you want people to remember you fondly, to mourn you, to not mock you, and be relieved when you leave this world, you need to be a decent person. You need to write a book that people like. Not something that people look at and go, holy shit, that's ironic. Charlie Cook, I keep doing that. Charlie Cook, I did it again. Charlie Kirk wrote his book exactly how he wanted. And now it's over. And all we have is the hateful rhetoric and the disingenuous bullshit and his pursuit of power for fascistic leaders who are actively harming Americans today. So I don't feel bad for him. I feel bad for his kids, because regardless of who he was as a person, he was their dad. So I'm sorry for them. I hope they get therapy. I hope they'll be okay. But I don't think anyone should mourn him. I think he was a bad guy. No one deserves to get killed. But I do think the world has one fewer terrible person in it today. And if you don't want people to think that about you, do better. So that's it. Let's see, I had some bits, and then we'll call it a night. Gitara says, before you go, I had to step out of the stream due to work like an hour ago, but I saw some posts about some chud TikToker that stole blood-soaked merch from Kirk's table to sell on eBay. He left his fingerprints all over the crime scene, contaminating it. What a dumb asshole. Anyway. Feet Lovers Pizza 69. A, funny name. B, thanks for following. If you liked what you saw, consider giving a follow. I stream almost every day. I don't do Chud Watch often like I used to, but, you know, occasionally. Most of the time I cover conspiracy theorists and the strange things they believe, which includes politics from time to time. We also look at sovereign citizens and all sorts of other stuff. So, we look at fundamentalists now, which we're probably going to do soon. Maybe tomorrow. I do work tomorrow, but I get out early enough that I should be able to stream. And if we do stream tomorrow, we're probably going to do a follow-up on the Paul and Morgan Fundy Watch we did last week or the week before. So that's cool. Consider following. Let's see who we're going to raid, shall we? And I hope everyone has a great night. Enjoy your life, be kind to people, be good to people, most importantly. And just love the people around you. Because whether you're a piece of shit political pundit or just a nice, normal person, we're all going to end up with Charlie eventually. Make good use of your life. Peep Lord says, sucks as kids won't be able to Google their dad and find anything heartwarming, just cold evil takes and videos ad nauseum. Yeah, no kidding. Alright, who we raiding?
Didn't feel some type of way.
We'll raid Swell. All right. Have a great night, everyone. See you tomorrow, unless work turns out to be a nightmare, but hopefully it won't. It should be fine. Should be fine. His kids might find this VOD ironically. I hope not, but if they do, someday, sorry. Your dad hated people like me and wanted to make our lives worse. He wanted people like me to die or disappear or have their rights taken away. I hope he was a good dad to you while he was alive, but he wasn't a good person. All right. Night, everyone. See you later.